Hey everyone, welcome to our second last week, or I think we've got 2 more weeks to go. From today onwards, I'll just pull out our weekly schedule of where we are and how we are tracking. So thank you very much for last week understanding. I just had to cancel last Thursday. So we are here about 2610. This is when actually my son's birthday was, which was the 26th, which was this tutorial. But last week I wasn't able to cover the obtaining titles, and what I wanted to do was cover obtaining titles today, and then in tomorrow's class, which will be a substitute for this, I will cover the APAM strategy, of what we're going to do, how we're going to prep for it, and the project report. So I'll cover that tomorrow, but today I want to cover the obtaining titles section. Now, obtaining titles is very simple in layman words. You do some. Actually, just 1 second. If you guys could press the hand button so that I know that you guys can see my screen and you can hear me right. So that'll be great. Fantastic. Um, okay, so we will be very soon. We're gonna have you guys will have to put together the project report. Now, don't worry too much about your project report. If you have a project, by all means do that. If you don't have a project, it doesn't really matter if you haven't got it right. But it doesn't mean I will give you a chance so you can talk about your experience, and the things that you want to get more help with. But we'll do that in the last week, because tomorrow when I discuss the project report and the APAM thing, the following week we're gonna have the no money down section, which is gonna be a long session about doing different kinds of creative deals that we do with landowners, with other developers, with investors, with builders, and how you can go about it and how you can actually structure those deals. And then next week, in the second class next week, because we've got 2 classes this week and 2 classes next week, and in the second and then on the Thursday's class, you guys can actually, whoever's ready with their report, would like to discuss it, would like to present the report, you can present it, and everybody else can see it. If you want to hide the address, that's also fine, no problem at all. And we will just everybody will get a chance to see what other people have done, how they have presented, and we all can learn from it. So yeah, but at the end of this class, because I see a few people still joining in, at the end of this class, I will announce another bonus for everybody for next year, and yeah, and then we'll go from there. So obtaining titles is very important, super duper important, because nothing your pre-sales that you've done, the contracts that you've sold, nobody can settle. You can't get any money, even if you've got contracts signed, they're unconditional, all of that. But if for whatever reason these things get delayed, you will not be able to have the settlement and have the money come back to you. So the word of caution here is this: that when your project is complete, 100% of the money that you borrowed from construction, either you borrowed for construction or construction plus land, whatever you borrowed put together, is already drawn. The full thing has been drawn down. So your interest for the facility, you pay an interest on the full drawdown amount. So if it's only $1 million, is not that great. But when, for example, the 12 units that we finished now, they finished first week of October, and it's a month, and our entire loan is drawn, and we haven't been able to get the titles for one thing on or another. And I will give you the examples of the things that caused us issues. Although we did try our best to actually get them, but sometimes things don't work out, and there is bureaucracy and paperwork, and things get lost, and everyone's trying to find the information that's required by some authority to be able to do to be able to get approval from everybody, and then be able to get the titles issued. So it's 100% drawn. So in our scenario, it's through $3.2 million that have been drawn for construction. And only now we've been able to go into the titles office, and the title office is no matter what they say that they are automating everything, and everything is becoming, because I remember last year in October, they what they were doing were they were making everything electronic. So there was no hard paper copy that was supposed to go to the titles office. Everything was supposed to be lodged electronically via their website portal and everything, and everything will become faster and all of that. So I'll tell you what fast is. So they say that they take about 18 days, but right now they're taking about 23 days to issue titles after they have been lodged with the state revenue office. So from today onwards, it's going to be lodged. So if you calculate the interest on $3.2 million for 2 months from the day the construction was complete, and we could have easily settled for, because all the sales are in place. For 2 months, that interest for us has cost us close to $40,000 just in holding costs, because it's not just that interest. The money that comes from the developer also comes at an interest. And so entire money that's in the project, it's accounted towards the bottom line of the project. And all that money, all that meter is actually running every day. So time is of the essence. The interest is maximum at the time, and the interest capitalization period is also about to end. So what the bank would do is the bank would say, okay, I will give that loan to you as, and see, when, as we explained in the finance side of it, when the construction loan kicks in, it becomes a commercial loan, and at that time there are no monthly installments. Everything is capitalized, and but it's not capitalized forever. You know what I mean? It's the bank will look at, okay, 12-month construction, I'll give you 18 months, or I'll give you 15 months, 3 months on top of after you finish the construction. So at some point, if you haven't sold anything, that's when this is the time when the developers actually start panicking, and they've got to get rid of their stock ASAP. That's why they give big discounts or whatever, especially when the development is actually built and the entire loan's drawn, and that at that time every day is costing you money. So and if you've got a $1 million loan at 6%, it's about $60,000 per annum, which is about 165 a day. So which is not that great. It's only about, $3,000 something dollars, or close to $4,000 a month, but it's $165 a day. But if you've got a $5 million loan at 7%, it's about $958 every day. That's about $1,000 every day. So every day that you are getting delayed, it's about $1,000 a day. So settlements can't take place without the titles. So that's why that plan of subdivision, the titles, the occupancy permit, all of these things, the building surveyor or the certifier who comes in to certify the development, all of these things have to be timed so well. All your ducks have to be lined up so well that as soon as you are finished, it's not you don't as soon as you are finished, you are not you're not scrambling for money, so you can have the titles and get your sales to actually start settling. So let's look at the plan of subdivision. The plan of subdivision is the main thing that eventually the titles will be issued based on the new plan of subdivision. So the plan of subdivision that we get, it's basically, we all know what it is. And all new plan or subdivisions, for I mean, see, this entire process of obtaining titles is very simple and very similar in no matter what state you're from. But exactly what the process is, you'll have to find out from your state. But I'm telling you, 99.9% of the time, you'll find the process is more or less the same. There has to be a preliminary plan of subdivision. Then the surveyor needs to come in. I'm telling you this because it can seem a little bit more complicated, but in a nutshell, if you understand how it works in a nutshell, you will make sure that all these things are ticked off as your development is coming to a close. So you got to have a preliminary plan of subdivision. You'll always have that, because otherwise you won't have your pre-sale contracts, because as we know, the preliminary plan of subdivision will go into your contract of sale. Once you reach a certain stage in the development where your internal areas and your external envelope of the building wouldn't change, it's already been built, the building surveyor then comes back and does the remeasures everything and gives you an updated version of your preliminary plan of subdivision. So now you've got real measurements. So first, the preliminary plan of subdivision is based on your drawings, based on this is what we're going to do, this is what we're going to draw, is based on those drawings. But then the surveyor comes back at a later date when the building is ready, or it's actually structurally the building is ready, and the internal areas and the external areas aren't going to change. They will then do a remeasure. Once they've done a remeasure, they will update the plan of subdivision in that scenario, and then it goes back into all the authorities, whether it's sewer, water, gas, or Telstra, for example, any phone related service. It goes back to all these authorities for their approval or their consent. Then the consent comes back. It goes back into council to get a final approval from the council. Council says yes. Then it gets back to the land surveyor. Then goes back to the lawyer. Then goes back into the titles office. Then comes back from the title office. But when it actually comes back to the titles office, it doesn't go to the land surveyor. It actually goes to the lawyer. So, and all this is tracked via an online system. In Victoria, it's called Spear. In Brisbane, I'm not sure if it's called Spear or something, but they have another system there that does all of that. So we'll cover, and I'll show you some websites where you can find out more details about the process. All you want to understand is that in a nutshell, there is plan of subdivision number 1, which is before you start building. Plan of subdivision number 2, when the surveyor comes in again, or the certifier comes in again to make sure that everything has been built, and then remeasures everything. Then it actually goes to all the authorities. Authorities say yes. Then it goes to the council. Council says yes. Comes back to the land surveyor, who actually then lodges it online. And then it goes back to the titles office. And from the titles, it comes back to the lawyer. So, or from everyone has access to it. The lawyer will have access to it. The surveyor will have access to the online system that they've got, where they can see the application and see the status for it. And as soon as it says that the status is updated, that the council's approved it, United Energy, for example, the people who are going to supply us the electricity have approved it, and the underground water work that needs to be done, all that has been ticked off. The lawyer will then pick it up, lodge it with the titles office. Title office will then take another 23 days, and then it'll come back to the lawyer, and then the lawyer will then inform all your contracts saying, guys, we are ready to settle. So let's keep going. And after that day, based on your contract, is usually about 14 days for your pre-sales to actually settle. Now, as part of the subdivision process, that plan may create certain restrictions, owners corporations, any easements, including implied easements under section 12.2. Don't ask me what that section says, but there are implied easements. and everything that's ready to allocate all of that. So all these things have to be reflected in that plan of subdivision. It can also remove or vary restrictions and easements based on that. So if there are any new groundwork, so say for example, there's a new sewer that was put in over there, that plan of subdivision will reflect those details over there. So your preliminary plan of subdivision, when it goes to the council has 60 days to assess the application. And this is your planning permit application because it will be lodged with it. And what council actually does it looks at receiving a consent from different servicing authorities. So whether it's water, gas, electricity, phone, drainage, and the report is then written and a decision made on whether the permit will be granted. So a preliminary plan outlines specific conditions that are met. These can include different authorities and all of that. So this can be used in this is already used in your section 32 or your disclosure statement. And then the next step is actually to be able to lodge it with council for certification. So in Brisbane, they've got somebody who's known as a certifier or land surveyor. I'm just going to use the word land surveyor so that it's common for everybody. When it goes into the council again, the council says, yes, we are okay with it as long as water and sewer authority is okay with it. So the council will ask for the consent of other servicing authorities again. So if you go to Southeast Water, for example, which is here in Melbourne in the area that I work, they want a notice of agreement. And then in their notice, they'll say, yes, we are happy with it. Your proposed plan shows us the infrastructure in the ground. You now pay the fees for it. And then you've got PIC numbers, which is the Plumbing Industry Commission number or the Plumbing Industry Commission Victoria. They administer all the licensing and registration system for plumbers and promote and enforce plumbing standard across Victoria. So that's what PIC number is. So when you actually apply for the PIC number, we usually apply for this PIC number, and you might not be even applying for it. Your builder might be applying for it. I know about this because we do our build ourselves. A lot of people may not even know about this because the builder actually does apply to get the PIC number going. Now, so we've got, hang on one second. Okay, this is a fair bit. Let's open it here. So there's a final survey done, and this is the final step in the subdivision process that I was talking about in a nutshell, and is issued once all planning permit and referral authority requirements have been met. The title office will give you a new certificate title once all the statement of compliance and everything is given to them. So what that final survey actually does is it confirms that the building was set out and constructed in accordance with the proposed plan of subdivision being approved earlier in the by the planning authority as part of the planning permit application. So if you've got let me just go here because so the final survey would then become the seal plan. In Brisbane, it's actually known as plan sealing. It's known as final survey will then become the seal plan, certified plan, which is then incorporated in the registered plan of titles. If you're building apartments, that plan of subdivision is called building format plan. And in the building format plan, you should have the proposed number of lots, the total area of the lots, identification of any parts of the lot proposed to be outside the building in which the lot is proposed to be located, including any proposed balcony, courtyard, carport, any kind of parking space, even in the basement. It will all be reflected on your building format plan. The floor plan in the building in which the lot is proposed to be located, So it'll also have the full floor plan. So if it's, let's say it's on the third level, it will have a plan of the full third level and indicate that these are the lots on the third floor as well. Identification of other lots and common property proposed to be on the same floor level in the building in which the lot is proposed to be located. Identification of proposed orientation of the lot by reference to north. And Queensland, this is the one that this is the service that Queensland uses, the Brisbane City Council uses. It's called Seal Smart. In Victoria, it's called SPEAR, SPEAR, and in Queensland, it's called Seal Smart. So if you go to Seal Smart, it's a process aimed at improving plan sealing times. So this is also known as plan sealing. So essentially, what they're doing is they're sealing the plan of subdivision that yes, it is built exactly what it was as it is shown in the building format plan or the plan of subdivision, and it's they're going to seal it. That means yes, it's done, it's concrete now. So this is they use this process called Seal Smart, and what it does is the same as Spear, but it fast tracks the process, and it's like a central place where different authorities give consent to a plan of subdivision application. Under Seal Smart, accredited consultant liaise with council engineers to determine suitable applications and agree certification requirements for each condition. The accredited consultant then engages relevant professionals to certify the conditions that they have been met. Now, these conditions are the conditions that you get with the planning permit. When you get your DA, it comes with DA conditions or the planning permit conditions, and that's what this is. These conditions are. So they will check and make sure that all of those conditions have been complied with. So if you ever wanted to find out about what it is like in Brisbane, this is the site for Brisbane that you can look at. And if you look at Victoria, they have I think it's called Spear. So this is the site in Victoria, and I'm pretty sure that every state has a site. Now they have a lot of information here that you can read if you want to. However, it's more designed for consultants like land surveyor, certifier, all these people to actually use and do it. If you deal with your land surveyor, you pay him a fee to do something, they'll manage this entire process for you. But you can, if you wanted to do it on your own, there are different sections there where you can do it on your own. So this is Victoria, which is about Spear. This is the website that I was showing you just then, and that does all of it for you. And where is this is for Brisbane. So if you go into, if you're from Brisbane, you can look at plan sealing request form, bonding of uncompleted works checklist. So these are the things that you will need to. And as a developer, what you need to understand is who's doing what. And then you need to direct the traffic to be able to get what you want and get it lodged and get the titles and everything. You don't really actually do the work yourself to be able to do this. It's the job of a it's basically a job for your consultants. So, and I also wanted to show you this section here. Give me 1 second. This will. So if you look at the life cycle of what happens at Spear, so this is Spear application life cycle. So how does the application move? Where does it go? So this is the purple is the applicant. Then this deep blue color is the responsible authority. Then green is the referral authority. And again, the purple is again the mandatory action and the option action. You've got mandatory action and optional action over here. So you'll start with create the application, attach all the documents that they need, submit the application to the responsible authority. Then you go into accept or reject the application. Now, this is the responsible authority's job that's doing this, where this application goes to. Then you pay the fees, respond to any additional information requests. So you get an RFI from them saying, show me this plan, or show me this drawing, or show me this report, so that, or show me a consent from your civil engineer. They might ask you to provide all this documentation so that they can then make a decision on this. So that's how this portion, that your portion of it, applicant's portion side, would work. Then they will determine the referral requirement, determine advertising requirement, request additional information. They'll attach invoices for statutory fees that you may need to pay, update property details, assess proposed changes to the application, and then whether it's lapsed or it's withdrawn, it's a different case. Again, if it's referred, that means you have to respond to additional RFIs, modify the application, then respond. Then they will respond again. Then the permit decision is made by the responsible authority here. Planning permit decision, amended planning decision. Now, this is a full-on cycle. So over here, they're talking about certified plan, certified acquisition plan, recertify acquisition plan. So this is their entire process of how everything would work. And then Land Victoria will then finally approve this. Now I will attach this with the video, and you'll be able to download it and complete it. Now, plan sealing, again, performed by the local authority after the final survey is done. Payment receipts for sewer or water contributions if required. So for us, PIC number is exactly that we got to pay the fees for PIC in this scenario. Now, the application for certification is a separate application, which is usually submitted at the same time as planning permit application, and your surveyor will prepare a set of plans which will be certified and are the plans which get submitted to the titles office. All referral authorities need to be to consent to the plan being certified. So unless everybody gives a thumbs up, nothing moves forward. So your plan of subdivision will then go into different authorities to check whether easements are required for their service. If they require work to be undertaken for construction of roads or drainage or services, all that goes in. The reason I'm explaining all of this is because it is a complicated process. It does require a certain understanding of how this is working. But if you don't know anything, don't let this process bother you too much, because your land surveyor will take care of this. Then a statement of compliance needs to be issued. It's a document required to conclude the subdivision process, allow registration of the subdivision at the title office, and release of the new titles by the titles office. And council will only issue a statement of compliance once it has received a letter from each servicing authority and a final inspection of the site has been carried out by the officer. When subdivision is then approved, unit site, development site, a final inspection of the completed units and landscaping is carried out by the council before a statement of compliance is issued. So again, after that, your next step would be, once you've got all the compliance and everything, your solicitor actually logs on to the same system, whether it's RiskSmart or whether it's Spear or whether it's the Brisbane system, whatever they use, Fast Track, their plan sealing authority. They all it's called SealSmart, sorry, not RiskSmart. RiskSmart is actually another system that they use in Brisbane, but that is to fast track the DI process in this scenario. So your lawyer will then log over there and look at all the details. So by the time you reach, ideally, and we tried to do that, by the time you reach lockup stage, you should have the titles, and we always try and do that. But we weren't not able to do that, even though we did a thing which is known as Section 173, and I'll explain you what that is. This is like trying to obtain a title or an approval without actually doing the building. See, your plan of subdivision can go through and become titles and everything as soon as you build. So you've done your you've completed your construction, the project's complete. There is nothing else to be done. All the new areas have already been formed on the on a site that was one title before. So at that time, issuing the title is pretty easy. However, a lot of people have a single dwelling up front, and what they do is they do a battle axe block at the back. So they leave a driveway to go to the backyard, and they subdivide the backyard, and then they just sell it. Now they're not building anything on it, but all they want to do is do that subdivision. However, you will still have to provide them plans of what you intend on doing over there, and they you do not need to do the building. But what the council then forces you to do is that the council would make you sign in Victoria it's known as section 173. What that does is it tells the council and that this is what we plan on building over here, even if you're not building it. However, that section 173 will basically stipulate that anytime anything is built in that block, it has to comply with the plans that you've submitted. It has to be exactly what the plan they have approved over there, and that is the only way you can do that. Now, it's really good for the person who's actually just doing the development, just going to who's just going to subdivide his backyard and just sell it. It's very good for them. However, if you are the one buying that, you got to be careful, because if a section 173 is there, you've got to comply with those conditions in there, because it's like those conditions and those drawings that are there, they get married to that block. Once they get married to the block, you can't change it. You only have to build exactly what that is. And you have to be careful when you are looking to buy something like that, because the section 173 will come with it. So in situations where a planning permit has been issued for development on the land, that is a unit development, you can make an application to subdivide the land without commencing the development. Anytime you do that, a written statement must be submitted with the planning permit application to council. So if let's say you're not planning on actually building it, but you want to do the thing, you have to still go through the planning permit process. When you go through the planning permit process for the plan of subdivision, you got to submit what that plan is, but you got to also let them know that you won't be building it, outlining that the land is to be developed after the subdivision takes place. And the council may issue a planning permit for subdivision in such circumstances, subject to a permit condition requiring the owner to enter into a section 173 agreement with the council, which requires that only the approved development will be built on the land once the separate titles have been issued. So this is the legal language, and I tried to explain you the same thing in a lot simpler way. This agreement is made under the Planning and Whatever Act and will be registered on the title to the land to bind any future owners of the land to the agreement. Consent to the issue of statement of compliance from all servicing authorities is still required, so there's no way you can get around that, even though there is no actual construction on the site. Drainage and driveway works may need to be bonded with the council engineer. So that still needs to be complied with. You still need to do all of that. Now, there are two different websites. Now, this is not something that that I like to reinvent the wheel and teach you the whole thing, but I want you to go to this website here. It's called, if you're in Victoria, go to this website. There's also a really good article by Your Investment Property magazine that talk about how to do your land subdivision. But I would say that article is not, it's good, it's great, but find out the process from your local council. So especially if you're in New South Wales, if you're in New South Wales, different councils, there are many different councils just like Victoria. But in Victoria, I found that most councils, their council contribution fees and everything, the method of calculation is similar across all of them. But in New South Wales, their method of calculation is different from council to council. So you need to check with your council, and I'm pretty sure that there has to be a Spear or a Seal Smart kind of service in New South Wales as well. The only reason I haven't looked it up is because I've never done a development in New South Wales as such, and which is not that far, because the doctors that we work with, one of the doctors, he owns about 4 acres of land in Box Hill in Sydney, on the outskirts of Sydney. There's a suburb called Box Hill, and the services are coming to that parcel of land. Once it's there, we will develop that full house and land package on that side in the future. So we've got, if you go to this site is really good. It talks about the registration processing time, how would Spear work, building subdivision guidelines, acceptable easement purpose. Now, you would say, look, I just want to make money and do the development and everything. That's fine. That's 100% fine, and I don't blame you. I would go through and read this as much as I can to understand it better. But if you don't want to do it, you don't have to. You don't have to. You just have to understand the process, how it works. And the reason it is important for you to understand is because you can take necessary action in time. Your builder will not take this action for you. As a developer, you need to take that action. Reason why is because you've already drawn your loan down and your meter's running on a daily basis, and that is why you need to know how this process works, so you can actually understand and get it going in time, so that your ducks are lined up when it's time to actually go and get the titles going. So yeah, the next thing is your occupancy permit or certificate of completion. Now, this actually has nothing to do with your plan of subdivision process and going to the titles office and everything. That is why I said that we try and get the titles by the time we reach lockup. And if you've got a bank involved, your bank would also be consenting to this application to get the titles going. Now, occupancy permit is another example where you've got to have that in place. The titles and the plan of subdivision initiation to actually do that can run parallel. You don't have to, it's not like they're not dependent. That plan of subdivision going through the certification process is not really dependent on the occupancy permit. They can work independent of each other. But occupancy permit is another thing that you must have, because you are getting ready for the titles, you're getting ready for handover. So what that is it's completion, which is basically all the works completed as per the construction contract. What your builder is then going to do at the time is actually issue you a certificate of completion. What it is just a letter with the letterhead and everything, and some details saying that it has been built as per specification and the contract signed. It's called a completion certificate, which is issued by the builder. You got to then give that to your bank as well, so that the bank knows that yes, it is completed. For them, because you'll already get the certificate of completion, it's not your headache. And I'm just showing you little of the things that happen behind the scenes, because we do our building and we know that all these headaches happen as we are actually doing the build. So you've got, we had to contact the building surveyor, who's actually doing all our inspections at every stage. We got to book in an inspection saying, look, and you actually book that in advance, so that the building surveyor can come to the site in advance. And they have inspections booked in all throughout. So you've got to do that booking, and you got to do that inspection. You got to have that inspection lined up. Any discrepancies are corrected by the contractor. So the building surveyor will give you a list of things that they think are not yet compliant, and then the builder then has to comply with all of them. And then they will issue a certificate of occupancy or a certificate of completion. Compliance inspections, they will look at all your town planning conditions, your landscape, your stormwater, your asset protection. They look at all these compliance certificates for them to be able to give you that. Again, this isn't your headache because you are not going to build this yourself. All you are worried about is to be able to get the certificate of completion from the builder. Once the builder gives you the certificate of completion, it's done and dusted for you. But this is what's happening in behind the scenes. I'll give you an example. In the Brisbane project, when I had a third party builder, what they did was there was some civil work that needed to be done for stormwater, and the builder tried to contact the civil engineer. The civil engineer did not respond. The builder went ahead and got the job done and closed off the stormwater drain. It just put the lid back on, and he said the project was done. Now the civil engineer he actually dug his heels and said, look, I'm not giving you compliance from my side because you haven't shown me how you've done the job. Now, as a developer, I'm trying to sort out a fight between the civil engineer that I hired and a builder that I hired. Now, the builder's pointing the finger at the civil engineer saying that he wasn't there. I left a lot of messages. I sent numerous emails. He wasn't there, and the job had to be done. And the civil engineer is saying, it's my license and my professional indemnity on the line. I'm not going to sign this thing until I actually see what's in it. So there are ways around it. Either the builder has to pull apart everything, call them again, which is going to cost the builder money to do that. But more importantly, it's actually going to cost me more because my time's getting delayed. However, another way you get around it is actually when you got liquidated damages built into your construction contract, you can actually charge the builder for this mess. But I didn't want any mess or anything, so civil engineer would definitely not sign on it because it's his professional indemnity insurance is on the line. So I called up the builder and I said, look, what's the way to solve this thing? How can you solve this ASAP? Now then the builder goes, look, I have a civil engineer that I work with on all my sites. They know how we work. He knows what it is. I can get him to sign off on it. And he got the other civil engineer to come and sign off on it. And the job was completed. We didn't get a sign off from the other civil engineer. I still had to pay the invoice, but it was a compromise to save me time and finish the project early. Finish the project in time. So we signed it up. We accepted that. And because if there is a problem in the works that are being done, it's not my headache. Whose headache is it? It's the builder and the civil engineer who actually signed on it. It's their headache if there is an issue with it that comes at a later date. Well, all I want at this stage is because my meter is running every day, I want the project to finish ASAP. So getting that occupancy certificate is important. So now you got your plan of subdivision, titles, occupancy permits, surveyor, all of those things. Then when your settlements once you got your titles, you got your occupancy certificate. I mean, as I said, you don't have to wait for either or. So if you haven't got your occupancy certificate, it doesn't matter. As soon as you get your title, you can get your pre-sales to settle within 14 days or 28 days of issuing titles, whatever is actually in your contract of sale. Once titles are issued, your solicitor contacts the buyers and the buyers to book in a settlement and off the plan sales contracts upon plan sealing with an approximate settle date. So your settlements can take place. It doesn't matter if you've got an occupancy certificate. Even if that comes in maybe a couple of weeks later, it's also fine. They still have to settle on it, but they can't actually move into the property. But usually 99.99% of the time, you would have both these things ready for them to settle. You will have your completion certificate ready to settle as well. But it just doesn't finish there. Before your titles are settled, you got to have a handover package ready. What is a handover package? A handover package is everything that's gone into your building. You got to put it together. You got to have details for all of these things. You got to ask for those details from the builder. Your builder will give you one, but most of the time you'll find that builders are sloppy with all these details. And you got to keep asking them, where is this? Where is the key to the garage? Where is the remote to the garage? Where is the remote to the air conditioning? Where is the manual for the range hood? Where is the remote control for the security alarm? Depending on what's actually gone in there. So you got to have all your owner manuals. You got to have owner manuals for all the PC items. Your oven, that if you put in an oven, your gas, your range hood, you got to have those details. All your white goods that you put in. If you put in a dishwasher, it's got to be a manual and the warranty that it comes with. It has to be there in your handover package. You got to have your keys to the garage doors. If you got a remote control to it, you got to have that. You got to have the manual for your garage door. You got to have the service agreement for the garage door. You got to have the company that you bought it from, your solar and hot water system, whatever's gone into your property. You got to have details of that, who the manufacturer is, what the manufacturing guarantee is, all that has to be in there. You got to have details of all the color references. What company tiles did they use, name of the supplier who supplied the tile. Tomorrow, if somebody breaks a tile and they just want to replace that tile from the unit that you build, how are they you don't want them to actually keep calling you back and asking you, Mike, can you give me the tile item number, model number, or whatever that is, a reference number for the tile, who you got it from, so I can get another one and replace this tile for whatever reason. You got to have your color names that were used in your property. So somebody scratches the wall or punches a hole in the plaster and they've got to fix it and then repaint it, they've got to have the same exact color. They need to know that color. So your painter will usually it will all be specified in your material and finishes schedule, but you should get those color names from your builder. Floorboards, where did they get the floorboards? Is very common. People scratch their floorboards while moving stuff in, and then they'll call you and say, look, where did you get this from? Can we do this? Now, as a builder, they don't need to do it because they scratched it. It's not that the builder actually put in, because there is a final inspection that every sale is actually going to conduct to make sure that everything is there, everything is fixed, it's all there. So even for floorboards, you got to have color names and references and all those details. Keys, very important. Most of the windows come with keys these days, and it's the window keys that nobody remembers where they are. And there's got to be a set of 2 keys for every windows. It comes with it. Keys to the doors, any kind of locking systems, any kind of remotes for garage, for air conditioning units, list of subcontractors, especially electrician and plumber. You got to have that because they actually built the place. So if there are any problems with what they built, or if the light or circuitry goes off, or usually doesn't happen, but you don't want them calling you and then bothering you with it. Those details are there. They still have to give you compliance, that we should a plumber will give you compliance, an electrician will give you compliance, and they're responsible to go and rectify it. So they should know whoever's buying your unit, they should know who they need to contact for all these corrections. Now, the good part about this is that if you've got an owner's corporation, this entire headache goes off your head. You don't have to worry about nothing. Get this handover package from your builder. Make sure that everything is in there. And once you've got this handover package from your builder, you just hand it over to your owner's corporation. And then you can wash your hands of it, and it's not your problem anymore. They will contact the owner's corporation and its owner corporation job to actually coordinate, run maintenance, repairs, whatever they need to do. You also need to provide a certificate of termite management or pest control that it was carried out while the building was actually being built. You got to have a building certifier stage inspection approval. So if you had a building certifier or the building surveyor in Victoria, all the inspections that happened for all the stages have to be put somewhere. All the approvals that you've got, they have to be put together somewhere because they become part of the handover package. Any kind of waterproofing membrane that was put in all your wet areas, in your balconies, on your roof, you've got to have a certificate for it from your plumber, that they will give you a certificate that it's all waterproof. Plumbing and drainage certificate, you'll get that. You'll even get a certificate from the glazier and the certificate from the electrical certificate, as well, that you'll get from your electrician, that they've installed everything, they've done everything. Now, since you are a developer, all you need to do is actually go to hire a company like this, handovers.com. So let's say the builder comes to you and he wants to hand over the building to you. Now these people will ask, you'll have to pay them. I think I remember I paid them about $1,000 or $1,500 or something, and they did 2 inspections in it. So before we took the handover from the builder in Brisbane, these people went there, they inspected everything that the builder had done, matched it with the specifications, they ticked off everything, any kind of quality defects or anything, they checked everything and then gave a tick off to make sure that everything was built to the regulations on this. So yeah, so that's what this is somebody you can hire, and you'll have to pay them, so that is not your headache. And they will look at, they've got different kinds of photos, then they look at all these kind of zigzag defects, that is poor craftsmanship, any kind of broken lights like that, this kind of patchy work, if someone's done patchy work, they will pick up all of that, make a full list of everything, give it back to the builder. The builder then needs to rectify all of that and then book in another inspection with them. They will then come over there again, do another inspection, and then give you a report saying, look, it was all done, or it wasn't done, or this is remaining, and they still have to, and the builder still needs to fix all of those things so that your handover is complete. So that's how your plan of subdivision, your titles, your completion, your certificate of occupancy, all of these things come together, because now you are getting ready to actually finish the development and complete the development and tick everything off. So yeah, so that's what this is. This is how you obtain titles and get ready for handover. If anyone's got any questions with this, I'd love to take them now. Okay, so before I take the questions, I wanted to announce another bonus for next year. This bonus is this: in March, I'm going to have another session, and the another session would be, there'll be a new members area that you will all get access to, apart from what you already have access to. It will have some updated videos in them. It would have a lot of other webinars that I've done in the past, which I haven't done with you guys. It would have access to that. So it'll be a brand new, complete restructuring of the course that you'll have access to. You'll have access to, as I mentioned, once my online financial feasibility thing is lodged, you'll have access to that, because all the feasibility videos in there will be updated to reflect the online application that has been built. I'm just finalizing the final touches. It's in the testing stage at the moment, and then I'll release it to you very soon. So that, and also from next year onwards, I'm going to change the format so that there's going to be a monthly Q&A. Now, this wasn't part of your 12-week mentoring program, but everybody who attended this program They are free to attend those Q&A sessions for the next 1 year. So they will start sometime in March. Before it actually starts, we'll send out an email to everybody, and you guys will have access to the new members area with the new. It will look similar to the one it looks right now for the videos that I actually post in now, but it will have a lot more details in them about different webinars, different ways of doing feasibilities, and all the Q&A sessions that we do will also will start getting added to that new members section. So that's actually bonus number 2 that wasn't announced before. So I thought I'll let you guys know that this isn't the end. So you can continue attending next year's Q&A sessions, which are going to be starting in March, and they will be monthly Q&A sessions that you guys can attend. So now I'll take all the questions, and tomorrow we're going to discuss details about what is your strategy going to be, how are you thinking of attacking, because you guys should have an action plan in place as soon as you finish this in the next 2 weeks. And there's a one-on-one mentoring program as well, and I will talk about it in the last class about the details. That is, if you get into a project or you are planning on getting into a project and you're serious about doing it, so there's a one-on-one mentoring program, and I'll discuss more details about it at the end of during the last class. But till then, if you've got any questions for this class, let me know and I'll address those questions. But apart from that, I'll see you tomorrow, and we'll discuss your strategy and the project report, which is due next week. And I'm hoping that some people will have some project reports. If you don't have it, not an issue, but that session is actually designed to actually discuss project reports that the students submit. So I would highly recommend that even if you do it on a mock project, which is real life, but you are putting it together as if you are doing the project now, I would say you put it together and get the most out of the course, because that's where your main value is. When you ask questions, when you bring out different scenarios and I answer them, and other people bring out different scenarios, and that way you learn more, that all the things that you need to do in that. So yeah, anybody any questions for today? Otherwise we'll catch up next week. Anyone wanted to raise the hand? Okay, great. We'll see you next week. And next week is action packed. So the first class is all about your strategy and your project report. The second class is all about no money down deals and how to do different kind of structuring, how to do deals with different people. How are you guys gonna come together and do a project? It's all about that on Thursday next week. So next week is full on, and the following week I will take no, sorry, what am I saying? I'm so sorry. Actually, tomorrow's there's a class tomorrow, and we're gonna discuss your strategy and the project report tomorrow. And next week also there are 2 classes. One of them is going to be the no money down deal and creative strategies, and the Thursday's class would be when you will be presenting your project reports and your feasibilities. So that's pretty much it, and I'll see you guys tomorrow.